Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk, Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Unity of Garden Park, New Thought Philadelphia, the Sunshine Cathedral, Unity of Savannah, and the Om Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network. And now, let's experience the Om Center for Spiritual Living.
So good morning once again, or good afternoon, or good evening if you're someplace else or watching later. Great to see you all today. My topic for today is trusting the mystery or the sacred I don't know. So once again, belated Happy Valentine's Day. So we're going to talk about all of that and more besides. So a long time ago, I was in college. I was at California Lutheran College up in Thousand Oaks, north of Los Angeles. And a group of us would get together and talk into the wee hours of the morning about great theological questions. And one of the questions that we talked about is this question or this statement by Albert Einstein: the most important decision we make is whether we believe we live in a friendly or hostile universe. This is big for us. And as we reflect on Valentine's Day and about love and about all those other things, this is a big question for us, because do we live in a friendly, loving, nurturing, positive universe? Or do we live in a situation where there's all this out there that could get in the way of our path and make us stumble and all of that? So it's an interesting question for us. Because if it's not a friendly universe, that means that there's something out there that's not friendly. So, and those of us that come from traditional Christianity remember the belief in two powers, that there's God and there's spirit and there's the universe and so we can't really relax, because there is something that could get in the way. There's something that could affect what it is that we say we want. There's something that could keep us from that good that we're accepting. And we do our affirmative prayer, our spiritual mind treatment, and then say, and so it is, but it might not be. More on that in a minute. In this teaching we call religious science or new thought or unity or divine science or whatever background you come from, we speak in the absolutes. We do our affirmative prayer. We state what we want. We state what we don't want. We lovingly release it and we say, and so it is. We believe that there's no conflicting power out there. There's no separation. There's no reason why this shouldn't manifest for us. If we put and it's a simplistic example, but I use it sometimes when I'm talking with someone to explain what it is we believe. If you put rye bread in the toaster and press the button, you're going to get rye toast. You're not going to get pumpernickel. You're not going to get whole wheat. You're not going to get white. You're going to get rye toast, because that's the seed you planted. That's the bread you put in the toast. That's how life, with a capital L, works for us. We say, and so it is. But what if it isn't? What if it isn't? Can we allow ourselves to be comfortable in the mystery, in the not knowing? Can we allow ourselves to look at whatever it is that we're praying for and ask, so why isn't this manifesting for me? I don't know about you, but my experience has been that dear ones in my life don't always behave themselves. Has that been your experience? They don't always do what we want them to do. Their lives don't always look, if you would just do what I tell you to do, your life would be so much easier. Alas, they don't necessarily do that. And sometimes when we're doing our spiritual mind treatment, our affirmative prayer for someone else, and we say, and so it is, especially for physical healing, it doesn't necessarily end up the way we wanted it to. And I would suggest that it's not that our prayers were not successful. It's that if whatever the physical disease was, it is always healed, but the healing might be that it was time for them to go on to their next experience. I went through that experience with my husband many years ago. So we prayed for, and I always pray for perfect healing. And that's what he got. I absolutely know that to be true because that was his path, and he was to go on to his next experience, recognizing that life is eternal. Was my prayer unanswered? Was my prayer unsuccessful? No. And I got to tell you, it took me a long time to get to the point of recognizing that everyone is on their path. Ideally, some of us are here for 90 or 100 or 110 years or longer. But sometimes not. Sometimes it's only 53. Sometimes it's 20. Sometimes it's a couple of minutes. But everyone is on their own path. How important it is for us to remember that. Admittedly, I have, and you might as well if you think about it, and this is not a negative, this is just an observation. We have maybe a little spiritual arrogance when it comes to our prayer work. Because I state my intention, I absolutely know I want that red convertible. And so it is. But what if what the universe has for me is a white SUV? Or I want the perfect relationship with this wonderful person who looks like this and walks like this and talks like this. But what if somebody comes into my life that doesn't look anything like I could have imagined, but turns out to be my soulmate? Am I open to the good, all the good that the universe has for me? If I'm expecting my good and I'm looking for the UPS truck, am I ignoring the FedEx truck and the Postal Service and DHL and there's another one now and I forget who it is. But anybody? Am I open to that good however it arrives in my life? Or do I limit it based on what I can imagine and what I believe? Interesting question for us. Now, you've heard me say this before, and you probably will again. I have a little bit of a need for control. Now, you may not. And if you don't, I honor you for that. But I remember the days when I'd go on my computer and print out the directions on MapQuest and take this ream of paper with me to wherever I was going. But the problem with that is if you want to do a detour or you miss a turn, then you're to use a purely spiritual term, you are. Yes. Yeah. What? Oh God. And I had that, you might remember me telling this story. I had that experience, spoke at a beautiful little center outside of Chicago. Chicago is a wonderful, very organized, very major metropolitan area, but out in the woods is a whole different deal. And so went out to this church with my directions. Everything was wonderful. Got there, did my thing. and now it's dark, and I'm headed back to my hotel in Chicago. And I drive and drive and drive and drive. And I drive and drive and drive and drive and drive. And this is wrong. Oh, God, no pun intended. Where did I miss? Okay, and start to panic, breathe, all is well. So what I know is the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. The lake is to the east. So I just said, you know what? I'm going to drive until I either find the interstate or fall in the lake. And the good news is I found the interstate. Yay, right? Yeah, thank you. But the point is, if we are so set on how it must be, we miss out on how it could be. Ooh, that's really good. Can we allow ourselves to live in that mystery, in that possibility, and allow Spirit to do what Spirit does, recognizing that friendliness, that unconditional love, that possibility, and being open to whatever life has for us next, knowing that we'll be divinely guided on the steps. Because this is what we came here to do, is to live these ridiculously, amazingly abundant lives. That's what we came here to do. Now, keeping in mind that it doesn't always work that way. And we have situations, you've heard me talk about this before, and you will again, about our ability to recognize that, no, this isn't what I wanted. And I'm really afraid. I'm really upset. I'm really grieving. Because sometimes, as we were talking about before, people in our lives don't do what we want them to do, or that doesn't turn out the way we thought it was going to. How important it is to allow ourselves to feel whatever it is that comes up for us so that we can feel through it and move forward and not get involved in that. You've heard the terms spiritual bypass and toxic positivity. I will never tell you what you have to do, but you have to not do that to yourself. We have to allow ourselves to feel whatever that feeling is. And question. So I really want to do this, or I really want to release and stop doing this. If it's not changing for me, if it's not manifesting for me, what's going on here? What do I believe about this? I missed a slide. So we do our affirmative prayer. We say, and so it is, and we have the idea of how it's all gonna play out for us. But, and if you've not read her book, The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity, Edwene Gaines is one of my favorite authors. And she, I think this is in the book, or it certainly came out of her mouth. Would you be willing to consider that the universe has ways to bring us our good that we hadn't thought of yet? Again, does it have to be the brown truck? Does it have to be the FedEx truck? Does it have to be greater income, or could it be an expense that we don't have anymore when we're talking about our greater financial good? Is there a possibility that the universe could bring us that in the most amazing way, and then we stand back and say, wow, because I know you've had those, because I've had those. Wow. That's what we're about, is the wow. So keeping in mind that there's nothing we need to do, don't have to change anything, don't have to do anything, but if there is something, if we've got a little divine discontent, if we've got a little, I'm just really tired of this. I'm tired of this story. I'm tired of this belief. Then we have the opportunity to look at it and find out what we need to change about our beliefs related to it so that we can move forward. Change, whether it's good or bad, can be scary. I have a slide about that. But I would say that sometimes I am comfortable in my discomfort, that I'm not happy with this, I'm sick to death of this, I'm tired of this story, but I'm not so tired that I want to change something. But outside of my comfort zone is where the magic happens. That's where we step into the I don't know. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how this will work. And it's not my responsibility to figure it out. It's the universe's responsibility to take whatever it is that I said yes to and show me how to create whatever that is. Louise Hay is quoted as saying, "I am safe. It's only change." I know that all of us in one form or another have experienced that, and it might, as you're in the middle of it, a wise person, not me, once said, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I don't have to stop and build a condo." Actually, I think I talked about that a few weeks ago. But how important it is to keep walking through the valley rather than stopping and creating this permanent residence, because it came to pass. It did. More than 450 times in the Bible, the story starts with, "and it came to pass." So allow that. But if I'm hanging on for dear life, if I'm worried about all the forces out there that are going to keep me from experiencing the good that I say I want, I'm not going to allow that. But if I trust, if I allow, and remember in the New Testament, Jesus says, ask, seek, and knock. And sometimes we have to keep banging on the door because this isn't happening yet. So what do I need to do? What do I need to change about myself? Because that's all we're ever doing in order to receive this. Coming from the place of where we are now, moving forward, but allowing ourselves to recognize that this is how it is now. Not where we're going to stay, but this is how it is now. I love this Zen proverb. May we exist like a lotus at home in muddy water. Thus we bow to life as it is. This isn't what I wanted. I don't know how I got here, but I recognize that this is how it is now so that I can have the starting point and question and move forward. I do divine discontent. I don't know about you, but I do that every once in a while. And so there's a situation that I'm not happy with, but I'm just not quite there yet. And the comparison I like, or the story I like to tell about that is, so I'm out for a walk. I'm going to Cowles Mountain. And it's a gorgeous day. And I've got a little rock in my shoe. And it's inconvenient, it's a little painful, but I can live with it. So I keep walking. And I keep walking. And the pain gets a little bigger and the rock moves just a little, and so I need to adjust my toe. And the rock gets a little bigger and it's a little more painful, but I'm still walking. Until the still small voice finally gets a word in edgewise and says, "For the love of God..." Exactly. Why don't you get that rock out of your shoe? And then I sit down, take off my shoe, get the rock out of my shoe, put my shoe back on, and move forward. Because the opportunity is always there for us to take the rock out. And sometimes the pain's not bad, and actually the pain's kind of pretty good. You know, if there's a story that we have, a little bit, okay, but at some point, aren't you ready to let that go? Aren't I ready to live the amazing life, to experience the unconditional love that life has for me? Because after a while, the story gets old and tiresome, and we can allow ourselves to move on. Somebody said, oh, one more. This is my favorite. And the day came when the risk to remain tight in a bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. So again, there is nothing we have to do to make ourselves more lovable. There's nothing we have to do to be okay. But we didn't come here to just be okay. We came here to be physical perfection and financial abundance and passion and joy and wonder and ridiculously fabulous. That's what we're here for. So I invite us to look at where in my life, where in your life, there's the opportunity for that, and then step out into whatever it is. What if we allowed ourselves to come from this place of possibility? Ever done something in your life you had no idea? How is this going to happen? I don't know how I'm going to do this. I don't know. Write a book. Do a painting or some other art. Find a new relationship. Lovingly or not so, lovingly release an old relationship. Find a new job. Dear friend of mine hadn't worked outside the home in many, many years. Almost 60 years old, female, all the boxes that they say, well, you know, found this most amazing job. And she's having the time of her life, happier than she's been in years and years and years. So you know what they say? It's just background noise. Whatever it is, if it's possible, if we have the thought about it, it's possible. If we have a passion for it, it's possible. And how important it is for us to recognize that and allow Spirit to do what Spirit does. Let's get God off the dime. There's a Sunday talk. What if, because the universe is waiting for us to say, yes, this is what I want. This is what I came here for. Because if Spirit always says yes, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we want to do that? Because we're always growing. We're always learning. We're always changing. And that's what we're here to do, because we're not done here yet. And I would suggest that life isn't done yet. A great quote from Ernest Holmes, of all people. This is from Discover a Richer Life. And he writes, "What we must avoid, however, is the confusion which arises from a belief in final revelations, from the belief that all truth is at last discovered, or that some one person or some one system of thought has delivered the last word. There are no finalities in any science, any philosophy, or any religion. Through the continual emergence of the creative principle, any last finality proves to be but the beginning of a new creative series. This eternal spiral, finding its base in the everlasting reality, will never cease to emerge." Because I don't know about you, but I'm a different person than I was 20 years ago, 5 years ago, yesterday afternoon. Because our physical bodies are different. Ideally, our consciousness is a little different. Our beliefs and our recognition of who we are and where we fit in the world is a little different. And how wonderful that is to allow ourselves to say, I don't know. I don't know. But I'm listening. But I'm learning. But I'm choosing to move forward and move forward. So yesterday was Valentine's Day, and if you have a beloved, I trust you had a wonderful time together. Roses, chocolate, new Jaguars, whatever, or not. But I would suggest for us that whether you're in a relationship or not, that we be our own Valentine. So my experience has been that wisdom comes from surprising and wonderful places. And I was minding my own business and happened to change the channel to TLC, and there was the show, Say Yes to the Dress. I'm like, yeah, okay, well, that's fine. But they were talking about sologamy. Sologamy. I guess that's how you, sologamy. And sologamy, which I had not heard about before, is self-marriage, a symbolic expression of self-love and an affirmation of a deep, meaningful relationship with oneself. Rather than feeling the need to receive validation from someone else, recognizing that I am already whole and complete. Now, my first response was, and the still small voice said, well, no, just think about this for a minute. Because when we go into a relationship with someone else, sometimes we refer to them as our other half or our better half. And the truth is, ideally it's wonderful and we love them and it's a delightful relationship, but what if it turns out to not be? Then am I only halfway? No. The truth is we are already within ourselves whole, complete, and perfect. So I take back all the snarky remarks that I made, because there are people on this show, and primarily women, but not exclusively, but they're getting the dress and they're walking down the aisle and then they're having a honeymoon with themselves. Wow. I know it's a little different, and you can process that if you choose to, but recognize the concept of this, that I am already the beloved. And if I'm in a wonderful relationship, that just adds to it. But if it doesn't, that doesn't take anything away from me and my importance in the universe. Interesting thought. The things you'll learn. I don't know about you, but one of my challenges over time has been to recognize that I am. That I don't need, that I'm grateful for, but I don't need that validation from someone else. And even as I'm getting ready to share this with you, I'm thinking, okay, so here is another quote from the television. Please know that I do not spend all my days and nights watching TV. No, I promise. However, I want to share wisdom when I find it. And this one was from the sitcom Mom. If you ever saw it, it's Allison Janney and a bunch of people, and it's absolutely amazing. And if you come from a history related to substance abuse, it's funny and it's heartbreaking and it's amazing. And so one of the episodes, Yvette Nicole Brown's character says, if you always seek the validation of others, you will never be content because you are making them your higher power. So who am I? I am the essence, expression, and experience of spirit. I am the beloved. I am my Valentine. And so are you. You are all of those things. And so, because there is only love, of course, that greater good is ours. Of course, we can have whatever it is. Of course, we can do, be, and have whatever makes our heart sing, because that's what we're here to do, is to have that experience. So, our homework this week is to allow ourselves to see what we say yes to, what we say no to, and consider, if there's something we really want, allowing the universe to do what it does without us knowing all the steps. Because all we need to give is the destination and allow life to do what life does and bring whatever it is to us. So why does it matter? It matters because I believe our life is a reflection of what we believe about ourselves. And if this doesn't work for me anymore, it's my opportunity at any moment to see what I believe about it and change my beliefs. And be our own Valentine. And with that in mind, join me in the life for just a minute. So in the peace and the quiet of this moment, we give great thanks for the opportunity to be back together this morning, to be reminded of the truth of our being, that we are the beloved. And as we move forward today and this week, we allow ourselves to honor ourselves for how far we've come, for where we are now, and for the opportunity to say yes, thank you, and more please. We move forward in this recognition that we are the beloved, in this recognition that there is only love. And so we move forward into the next chapter of our greatest lives. For this beloved spiritual community, for our time together, we give great thanks. And together we say, and so it is.